Have you ever looked at your calendar, seen a plan with someone you truly care about, and instead of feeling excitement, you felt something heavy inside your chest? Not sadness exactly, not even anxiety in the usual sense, but a quiet resistance. Like your body was whispering something your mind didn't want to admit. You should be happy about this, but instead you feel like you are already tired before it even begins. And that is the moment where the confusion starts, because it doesn't make sense. You like these people. You chose them. They are your safe space, your people, the ones you call when life feels too loud. And yet somehow, even with them, you feel like something inside you is slowly fading. Like you are showing up physically, but parts of you are staying behind. There is a sentence that lives in that space. One you would probably never say out loud, but you have definitely felt it before. I love you, but I need you to disappear for a moment so I can feel like myself again. And the second that thought appears, guilt follows immediately. Because the world has already decided what that feeling means. It calls it cold. It calls it distant. It calls it antisocial. And if you hear those labels enough times, you start to believe them. You start to wonder if something is wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if the problem is not your personality, but the way your mind is built to experience the world? In our last conversation, we talked about overthinking and how your brain tries to predict every possible outcome before you act. But this is something different. This is what happens when that same brain enters a social space. Because for you, being around people is not just being around people. It is processing. It is noticing tone, reading between words, feeling shifts in energy, catching what is said and what is not said. Every interaction becomes a living system that you are constantly navigating. While someone else is simply talking, you are analyzing, adjusting, responding, and feeling all at once. And that takes energy. A kind of energy most people don't even realize exists. For some people, social interaction is a source of energy. They leave conversations feeling more alive, more charged, more full. But for you, it is different. You don't just participate in the interaction, you absorb it, you carry it, and that is why you feel tired. Not because you are weak, not because you are antisocial, but because your brain is doing more work than anyone can see. Imagine two people walking into the same room. One person sees a room full of people. The other person sees tension, mood, subtle dynamics, emotional signals, and unspoken stories. One person walks through, the other person processes everything. That second person is you. And if you don't understand that, you will keep blaming yourself for something that is not your fault. You will keep thinking you are bad at socializing, when the truth is, you are doing more than socializing. You are decoding. And decoding without rest leads to exhaustion. This is where everything starts to change. The moment you stop asking, what is wrong with me, and start asking, what does my system need? Because your life is not supposed to look like everyone else's. Most advice about social life is built for people who recharge through interaction. It tells you to go out more, meet more people, say yes more often. But for you, following that advice feels like slowly draining yourself without understanding why. So instead of thinking about your social life in terms of quantity, you need to think in terms of structure. Not how many people you see, but how your energy moves between being with others and being with yourself. You need a foundation, and that foundation is your solitude. Not lone, not isolation, but intentional time alone where your system can reset, where your thoughts can settle, where you are not processing anyone else's emotions. Because without that space, everything you absorb has nowhere to go. It stays inside you, and eventually it becomes too much. This is the mistake most people make. They treat alone time as something they earn after being social. But for you, it is the opposite. Your time alone is what makes your social energy possible in the first place. It is not a reward. It is maintenance. And once you understand that something shifts inside you, you stop forcing yourself to show up when you are already empty. You stop saying yes out of obligation. You start protecting your energy before it is gone. And that leads to a powerful change in how you interact with others. You begin to notice your limits, not in a dramatic way, not as a breaking point, but as a quiet signal. A moment in a conversation where your energy starts to drop, where you feel yourself becoming less present. Most people ignore that moment. They push through. They stay longer than they should. They try to be polite. But for you, that moment matters. Because once you cross it, you are no longer truly there. You are performing. So instead of leaving when you are exhausted, you learn to leave when you are still okay. When the conversation is still warm. When the connection still feels real. Leaving at that moment is not weakness. It is awareness. It is choosing to preserve the quality of the relationship instead of draining yourself to maintain it. And there's another shift that changes everything. Not every interaction needs to be deep. If you're someone who feels deeply, you may believe that every conversation has to matter, that every moment of connection has to be meaningful. But that expectation is what exhausts you. Some connections are meant to be light. Some interactions are meant to be simple. Sometimes the most powerful way to be with someone is not through intense conversation, but through shared space. Sitting in the same room without pressure. Being together without needing to explain, fix, or analyze anything. That is what allows your system to rest while still feeling connected. Because connection is not about intensity. It is about safety. And safety does not always require words. There is one more piece that you need to understand if you want to stop feeling overwhelmed in your relationships. Your mind holds more than it can process in real time. Every conversation leaves behind fragments. Emotions, details, patterns, small things you noticed but didn't fully process. And if you try to carry all of that in your head, it builds up. It becomes noise. It becomes weight. So you need a way to release it, not by forgetting, but by externalizing. Write things down, not because you need to remember everything, but because your mind needs space to breathe. The moment you stop trying to be the person who remembers everything, understands everything, and holds everything, you give yourself permission to simply be present, and that changes the entire experience. Because now you are not performing connection, you are living it. Understanding your mind is the point where guilt begins to disappear, because you realize something important. You were never bad at being around people. You were just using a system that was never designed for you. Your brain is not built for constant interaction without recovery. It is built for rhythm, for moving between depth and silence, between connection and solitude, between giving and restoring. And when you start living in that rhythm, everything becomes easier. Not because life changes, but because you stop fighting yourself. You stop trying to be someone you are not. You stop apologizing for needing space. You stop feeling broken for getting tired. Instead, you begin to trust your own patterns. You begin to respect your own limits. You begin to build a life that actually fits you. And yes, there will still be people who don't understand, people who think your silence means distance, people who take your absence personally. But what they don't see is that your silence is what allows your presence to be real. Because when you show up, you are not half there. You are fully there. And that is something rare. So today I want you to take one idea with you. Protect your silence. Not as an escape from the world, but as a foundation for how you exist in it. Because the more stable you are alone, the more powerful you become with others. You are not someone who lacks connection. You are someone who experiences it more deeply than most. And that means you don't need more people. You need the right balance between being with others and being with yourself. That is where your clarity lives. That is where your energy returns. And that is how you stop feeling like you are disappearing and start feeling like yourself again.